Today we're going to focus directly on SimManager. We just had a great release coming out, and we're going to be talking about that here today. So just a high-level agenda, what we'll be presenting is SimManager, the integration that we do with SimManager with PLM, how that works. We'll be giving you a brief overview of SimManager, and then we're going to do what's new in SimManager 2014, an update as far as some of the new features and functionality, how you might be able to use them, and exciting things that we've put in the product. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michael Schlenkrich. He'll introduce the first topics, and then he'll turn it back to me. Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to present the first part of this presentation to you. We just wanted to give you a very small update, small overview on where to position SimManager and what our strategic goals are in terms of how the SimManager fits into the overall product lifecycle management of any company. So first of all, you will maybe know the most critical systems you have in the product development process on the PLM side is the product requirements and the product definition. Product definition typically being performed in a PDM system, and the requirements systems like doors or other systems of that nature. Now, when you think about that and you think how does SimManager interact with the PLM, essentially most of the initiation of simulations happen, or the demand for simulation happens when you want to take in the product development process a set of requirements and want to validate of how that set of requirements works on the current state of the product, being anywhere in the life cycle. So how we perceive this is that we want to formalize this process of how simulation interacts with the PLM by the system of SimManager, by such a system like SimManager, and allow you to manage the data the data and the methods of addressing simulation requests in a consistent manner. So essentially, in the PLM, any time you have requirements and product definition, essentially you ask a question of does that work? And what that does is we formally send a work request into the SimManager system. And the SimManager system, Leo, if you one more slide, allows the analyst then to perform the work and then feed back into the PLM either an optimized design or simulation reports and results telling the PLM the product works, the product doesn't work, or there's some issues in the performance of specific attributes. If you go next slide. The points we want to mention and why we start so high level in terms of positioning the SimManager solution is there's some key aspects. First of all, we want to stress the fact that SimManager is a component in the PLM. It is a system which answers to questions of the PLM. By doing so, it helps the analyst organize his methods and tools like scripts. How do you do meshing? How do I do a solver? How do I do post-processing? All those scripts you have and the data which you're generating right here. So SimManager is a productivity tool for the analyst, managing his data and process of how he works through the simulation request, and provides to the analyst community a formal platform of, in a consistent and repeatable and reliable manner, communicate to the outside world, in particular to the PLM environment, that being PDM systems or requirement system and the steering environments around that for the product development process. With this high level positioning, just a few words on SimManager in general. If you want to have more detailed information, we actually have already had two webinars on SimManager explaining in more detail the PLM integration and also the key capabilities of SimManager. So Leo, if you go to the next slide. What SimManager really does is it allows you to organize your data. And that is something which is of critical need, particularly if you are in design environments where you have very many products or derivatives, where you have many duty cycles like hundreds of load cases you need to manage. And when you're doing simulation, multi-stage simulation, multidiscipline simulations, and you just have the logistical need to manage many files and keep them in sync and organized to each other. The second capability which SimManager adds to the analyst community is really to manage your data if you have if you are in a regulatory environment, or if you have kind of like some liabilities where you need to have very formal, precise documentation of which simulations were done. When you have needs for optimizing the specific performance attributes of your products. Or, and that's actually quite critical, is in the CAE community, you need to have your people be very efficient, your analysts. You don't have very many people which can perform high-end simulation tasks. So having a system where you can get your analysts working as efficient as possible is something of critical need if you have, for instance, unfulfilled headcount. On the other side, from a sweet spot of what does SimManager deliver to you, it delivers to you a system. It's a data and process management system which traces the data pedigree. So making the correlation between the files, and we'll have some aspects of that later on in the presentation, what's new. And it helps you orchestrate the CAE process, particularly in terms of interactions with HPC, for instance, when you submit the solver run, etc. It basically gives track and does the bookkeeping of the input deck files, result files, the post-processing files, the include files, the CAD files for the meshing to generate the include files, etc., etc. And as I positioned in the earlier slide, it provides you the facility to allow you to have a much more formal integration with data flow between the simulation environment and the general PLM. With that very high-level positioning, I would like to hand over to Leo to then go now into the precise enhancements around SimManager 2014.
Thank you, Michael. With that, I'm going to focus a little bit specifically on SimManager 2014 and talk about some of the specific features that we've added to the product. We're very excited about what we've added. Some of the things that we've added were driven by significant customer input. We work very closely with our customers and take the input as a valuable need, and we try to address that. So some of the key themes for 2014 at SimManager is making it easier to use. And you'll see this throughout kind of some of the demonstrations and things today. We've made it, it's more intuitive. Visually, it's laid out much better. Terms customers have used with us it's snappier. We've made extensive integrations, and we have deeper integrations that we're going to be working with in the future. And then we've done some new commercial discipline solutions. So with that, a couple things. First, the high-level areas where we've done work on for SimManager 2014. First is integrations, and I'm going to cover these quite a bit in detail. However, just a high-level integration, some of the key bullet items that I'll cover later on here is our VCollab integration. We've introduced a whole new set of integrations that are direct product integrations. So we have an example. We call this SimManager Explorer. We have one for Patran, for Mentat, for SimExpert. Common MSC products that you're familiar with. We also have it for ANSA, and we'll be doing other products in the future. So if there's requests, please let us know. In addition, we also provide a SimManager desktop. This is a standalone desktop. You don't have to go to the web interface, and it provides a very simple interface for publish and retrieve in and out of SimManager. Another thing we were focused at is user experience, so things like layout, navigation, and search, enhancing that. Our already robust capability, we've made it much easier to use. We've developed a vertical discipline solution, so we're looking at developing not only just a generalized product, but very targeted solutions. One example of that we released last year was Material Center. This year we're releasing Adams Car. We have a phase 1 release of that. We've enhanced some new capabilities and extended some others. So an example of that is some of the work that we've done with work requests. We've had work requests, but we've added some significant new capability there. And then with plotting, you'll see that today as well. Finally, there's several platform improvements. We're always working on things like performance, responsiveness of the UI, and installation, trying to make it very easy to install the product and get up and going. So with that, can I kind of cover some of the basic things? Michael talked very briefly about having traceability and pedigree. Well, this is one of the things that we wanted to be able to provide very easy and provide some simple links. So directly from the traceability and pedigree, you can go in and directly access information go right to the specific information. This is kind of an example of some 3D integration that we've done inside the product. You can go in and look at the details on it and be able to view specific items, explode the data, et cetera. So this is a good visual representation. This is all web friendly, so you're not downloading an entire monster database, and this works both for geometry, FEM, and then FEM with results. So here's just a brief example of something with results. If you're looking at the same view of it, it's an Patran result, and you can go in and use this. What you're looking at is VCollab directly integrated into SimManager. We also have other types of data enrichment we can do. We call this enriching the data. The user doesn't have to do anything. It's pre-configured. If you turn on VCollab, it's a simple installation, and you get this capability directly through the product. So again, very useful, very strong presentation. It helps the engineer to quickly go in and determine different types of things that they may want to do with and view the results, and very, very web friendly. So VCollab is one of our first integrations that we've done. Summary of the types of things that VCollab provides for us is it provides some direct 3D visualization of the detailed object. So any CAD geometry, finite element, or finite element with results, you can view it directly in your browser. You don't have to download everything in order to do that. Not only does it provide 3D generation, it also can provide 2D generation of static images. So as you see on the right here, you'll see that when I'm looking at a list of parts, I can see the 2D visualizations of those, and that's generated automatically just by importing the file. If the file type is recognized, it'll automatically generate. We have some very strong things we're doing in the future. As an example, 3D comparison overlay, so you can look at two models transposed on top of each other and see what the differences are. So to show you a little bit of what this looks like, not only does VCollab provide plugins for web-friendly content, it also provides it directly inside of PowerPoint. So here's an example inside PowerPoint. I can expand this. You can see this directly inside of here. There's some nice features for like looking at different views. You saw earlier being able to expand those, explode those views. You can kind of tear it apart, reset that, and then in addition, there's also things like cutting planes that you would expect. So if you wanted to set those up, you can set that up as well. Just to give you an idea of what that looks like, I wanted to provide that as a high-level overview. Another thing that we're very excited about our integrations that we're doing directly in the product. We're on the path of integrating CAE, CAD, and PDM, making PDM integrations. This way you can do you can extract models, be able to publish models back and forth. You can pull up, so from CAD, you'd be able to do a push into SimManager, and I'll give you some examples of what we're doing with CAE here. Just to kind of give you a very quick example of that, say this on video. So as an example, I'm working on a part. I have a part in Patran, which you're looking at as Patran interface. I can go ahead and log in. Everything in SimManager requires a login so that you have the appropriate permissions. Once you're logged in, the nice thing about our login is it will save the credentials, and when you go to log in the second time, it'll automatically pass you through. Once you're logged in, this is an example of publish, so this information is going out of Patran, being put directly into SimManager. Nothing additional required here. This is just doing some basic navigation through the product. You can see examples of models, and here's the model that has been published directly to SimManager. Now, if I were to reverse this process, and that's what you'll see next here in a moment, is if I was in Patran and I wanted to retrieve the model, I can do that very easily, and that's made very simply. We'll switch back to Patran here, open a new database, and it works much the same way since I'm already logged in. I'll just do a retrieve. And this will give you a display of SimManager, projects and models and everything else. And you can click on the content and see directly what you can bring in. At this point, you can select your model, do a simple retrieve, and what that does is that pulls from SimManager and directly brings in that part into Patran, or SimExpert or ANSA, et cetera, so that you can work. We're pretty excited about these. In addition to client integrations that we're doing, we've also provided the same capability directly from your desktop. So you can take files and upload those into SimManager or extract files out and be able to work directly on them using our robust import-export framework. So some of the other areas that we focused on is some of our layout and navigation. The purpose of this was really to make it easier to navigate inside the product, really a strong focus. Some very simple things we introduced, and we did several things along the way. We condensed a lot of the information. We opened up a lot of the content area so that the content you're looking at is more specific to the information as far as the things that you're looking at, whether it's a model or result. So there's more content area. Really made a big focus on that. We've improved areas like our home page, provided some basic global navigation, and a variety of other things. In addition, you've already saw some of the UI layout, user interface layout improvements, and there's many different areas where we've been able to go through and make changes. But one of the first areas that you've already seen is in the, we call it the detailed object view. We call that a single object display. That's when you're looking at just a model or just a result. And you've already seen that with the VCollab view, and what that provides is the ability to easily see an image or a 3D model. You can have content, and you can also enrich the content with anything you want. This is all configurable, so it's easily configured to exactly the need and the style that you would like it. If you want it 2 columns or 1 column or 3 columns, the order of the content, the type of content, you have complete control over that. It's a very easy configuration, and it provides a company to provide the information that the way the engineers want to see it. In addition, one of the other areas that we've spent a bit of time on is our homepage. We introduced the homepage in 2010, SimManager 2010. 2012, we made some improvement. We made some further improvements in SimManager 2014. One of the things that we provided is the ability to have a default homepage tab. We have multiple homepage tabs. We provided a default that's shared between all users. In addition, you can add in your own tabs, and you can configure it the way you want to. So if you're an engineer working on multiple car programs, you can have different views on those car programs. You may have different roles in those, so we've provided it very easy. And again, it's very easy for the user to configure this dynamically. SimManager can handle an extensive amount of data. We have customers that have petabytes of information inside of SimManager. That's an extensive, 100 million objects. So being able to find and search that data is very important for our user community. We've improved our search capability. We've added on the right below, you'll see we've added a way to be able to see the values using a histogram. There's slider bars. In addition, we also have search content in a grid format, calendar entries, and lists. So we've made it much more visual, much more appealing to users to be able to drill down and find information very easy. Another item that we've introduced in 2014 is Adam's car integration. And we've done this in conjunction with a customer, BMW. And the purpose of this was to take Adam's car and make a very rich integration between Adam's car, which is basically a solution for multi-body dynamics of ride and handling of a car. It's a very focused discipline solution. And if you're familiar with Adam's car, there's a lot of things called CDBs, car database, just as it sounds, and it's information, and it's a set of files. And oftentimes this is developed not by one engineer, but by a team of engineers. So making those teams be able to collaborate, share, and be all on the same page is really what the critical importance of what we're doing. That way, an engineer can have a local repository and also have a shared repository in SimManager. It looks something like this. So if I have an Adam's car model, I have the ability to have my own local environment, and I can synchronize those with SimManager that can be shared. In addition to that, oftentimes car analysis will be run on the local environment. But if you wanted to scale that up and be able to run many analysis at one time, it would be advantageous to use the power of SimManager and to be able to automatically launch several simulations at one time. We've provided direct integration to do batch simulation inside of on an HPC. A little bit of what this looks like. So this is a little bit of a high-speed video, but just to kind of take you through what you're doing. We're opening up SimManager via Adam's car. We're going to bring in some direct models. We're going to import those into Adam's car. We're going to retrieve. You'll see this is, if you're familiar with the Adam's car interface, this is very familiar. We've brought in an assembly. Go in, and through what you'll see is a variety of just normal editing actions that you would do in Adam's car. We're going to make some changes. We're going to look at view some of the data, the curve data. We're going to make some changes to that data. So we're going to change some of the properties. We're going to publish those back to SimManager, and that provides a direct, so we're making some changes here. And now we're going to do a simple publish back to SimManager. Now we can log into SimManager if you wanted to see what it looks like in there. This is something that you've shared out. We can provide that directly to users. With some things on the search interface here, doing some simple navigation. And what we've done is through this process, we can go through and look at different details and models. And then in addition to that, we have the ability to take and run the analysis. So an analysis has been run here. I didn't take you through that whole process. You'll be able to see a full pedigree here. You can see some of the different results. And then on that, there's your model. In addition, we also can do a VCollab enrichment of that, so you can see a little bit of the information that's being displayed, and generate a report. So that is Adam's car. The next topic I'm going to talk about is work requests. Work requests we've had in SimManager 2012. We introduced it as a feature. Provided the ability to define task standard work that Michael had talked about, bringing from a PDM into SimManager, and then being able to respond as a result of that back to, as an example, a PDM system. You can also do this within the context of SimManager itself. The very early version in 2012 was very simple. We just could define tasks. The engineer could work to those. There was not necessarily an order of sequencing of those. In 2014, we're introducing the ability to sequence a process flow. So now I can start to define tasks, start to define the order that things get defined in. In addition, all our tasks are sim activities and sim processes that are inside of SimManager. A sim activity is an action like, as an example, import a model, solve an Patran analysis, or do certain types of post-processing with key results. All of those have inputs and outputs. But one of the things we wanted to be able to do is connect inputs of a task to outputs of a task, or outputs of a task to inputs of a task, excuse me. That's very important because what it does is it provides the ability to set defaults as you move on and provide that connection. In addition, work request is an umbrella that sits over it. And those work requests you may want to set up as an example. Here's the model I want you to work on. And in that case, we can ask for inputs of a work request, and those can feed the task downstream. In addition, the outputs of the task, such as a report, can feed the outputs of the work request, so that we can so that you have the key inputs and outputs defined that will be used throughout the process. This is very nice because what it does is provides the ability to have things like defaults set up for a specific analysis and working through. You have the subject and understand very clearly what needs to be worked on, and what are the inputs to that work, and what are the outputs. We also have always had a very strong dashboard for work requests, so that's one of the areas that we provide, and that has been enhanced as well. In the future, you'll see work requests providing, this is obviously a very strong workflow capability, workflow as well as some process flow. This is all defined, and one of the key things here, this is all defined graphically inside, all defined from a form-based system. We'll be adding some graphic capability to define the workflow and process flow in the future. And that'll be coming in future releases. Another area that we've spent a lot of time on is plotting, and plotting is very important. We've had XY plots, we've had some very basic bar charts. Really wanted to step up our game. We're doing this also because we have a product that's materials center. And in the materials world, it's very important to look at data. Any engineer needs to be able to look at data not only in a value-centric position, but also in a graphical. So the better way to extract that data. Previously, we were using Java applets. We're converting to a new technology that does not require anything local on the system. What this provides is a very fast startup so that you can see your images. It has a similar interactivity. And as an example on the right, you can see a spider chart, and you can see a scatter plot. In addition, you've also seen some examples in some of the previous videos of a pie chart and bar charts and other charts like that. This gets very powerful when I now start to combine plots and I can do an overlay on the image. And this here is an example of taking that plot information and applying it directly that has geometric information. So this is an example. Each one of these dots represents a result. What this is, what you're looking at here on the right, is a pedestrian protection analysis. In the car industry, you have certain requirements for head impact on the hood of a car. And the hood, obviously, the stiffness of the hood will determine the Higgs values used to determine the head impact and whether it survivability or not. Very important analysis is required for certain geographies. And this is an example where I can very quickly do a scatter plot, and with an overlay of an image this is easily configured inside the system. Now I can see very quickly that information in a form that's very relevant to the engineer. They can see the areas where they have critical areas, and it's very easy to spot those areas. A couple other things that we're doing, configuration, import, export. This is importing and exporting all of the configuration of SimManager in and out. This is more of an IT type thing. This is a platform improvement that we're making, and we'll be doing this across the next several releases. One other piece that we thought was very important is the ability to easily install this. If anybody's familiar with enterprise products, traditionally has always taken an army of people to install. And we've been working very hard over the last 4 years to make it very easy to install. We have the normal kind of double-click installer that you would expect for Windows. We also have that for Linux. Provides a comprehensive installation of a footprint. So if you needed to try out SimManager, very easy to do. We provide all the prerequisites required and all the minor components that you would want. Things are pre-tuned for SimManager, and it provides the normal types of wizard installers that you'd expect. So this allows you to do a very quick footprint of SimManager. We have the same thing also for Material Center. Another area, and the last area I'm going to talk about today, is performance. We've been doing a lot of work over several releases on performance. It's a critical area for us, and we focus on it every release. This is one of those things that is the unsung hero of what we've done in a lot of with SimManager. What you're looking at on the right is several key areas throughout the product, and there's a lot more detail in this. This is more of a summary information. We're looking at how we've improved from 2010, 2012. 2014. We continually are measuring performance as part of one of the things that we do. We look at performance in a very broad base, and we look at very specific areas. Now, what we've done is we've done some very specific improvements, and one of the areas is on the simulation generator. That's a tool inside of SimManager that allows you to take models, build an assembly, and do that for different types of load cases. The assembly time and the process for that, we've improved. We had a targeted performance project on that, and we've made it 4 to 6 times improvement for larger versions of Simulation Generator. In addition, we've had an overall database improvement, particularly around bulk loading and deletion, things that you would expect. But what's really important is for the user, performance, responsiveness, quicker page loads, those type things are always important. And in specific areas where you have distributed environments and you have specific users with a key configuration component, direct vault access, we have a file transfer improvement for targeted use cases that are significant. So transferring files between users, setting up local vaults helps that significantly. with that, that is what I had for today. We have some minor enhancements that are covered here, but if you wanted to get a complete list of what's new, we have a document out there in our document system that provides a summary of all the types of items in SimManager 2014 as far as from a what's new document, and hopefully you get a chance to look at those. Thank you.